My name is Smitty, and you are watching the Week 2 Waiver Wire Fantasy Football Show. And we're going to break down the names you see on screen here, talk about some other names, especially the guys in this list, who might crack your waiver wire top ads for Week 2, who to grab. We still got the Monday night game to go, so we might have more names to pop onto this list. But I will be breaking this all down and more. And definitely need your comments. I want to know who's available in your league, what dilemmas you might be facing, and we'll break it all down right now. The Fantasy Football Show Week 2 Waiver Wire live stream show begins now.
This is the Fantasy Football Show with your host, Smitty.
Running back. You're watching the Fantasy Football Show. I'm Smitty. Take a lap.
What is going on, everybody? My name is Smitty, and you're watching. God, my volume was all the way up. Sorry about that. You're watching the Week 2 Waiver Wire Fantasy Football Show, and we're going to break down all of the top ads for Week 2. We're going to talk a little bit about Week 2. Don't worry. We'll get to that, but I also have a video dropping tomorrow, hopefully before the Monday night game, where we talk about the bus coming out of Week 2 or Week 1, the bus heading into Week 2. Which ones are traps? Which players are going to trap you into a rabbit hole, and you're just going to continue to go downward? What players should you get out of? What players should you buy low? We're going to break all that down as the week unfolds, so don't worry. There's so much to unravel, and there's a lot of people that are going to freak out about what took place in Week 1. And let me just tell you right now, the top 48, so if you look at just the first round, the first 4 rounds of fantasy football, the first 4 rounds, 40% of the top 48 players, the top 4 rounds busted in Week 1, laid a a total like dud on your footstep, like at your doorstep, just double decker, upper decker in the top bowl of your toilet. They just dropped a total big deuce right in the top tank. And you know, a lot of them are on my team. I'm sure everyone here has at least 1 or 2 of those guys, and you have so many people that are willing to jump ship on some of these guys right out of the gate. Like, oh, I'm just gonna abandon my post. Let me just click on this here. Boom, boom, boom. And I'm not getting all crazy about guys like Ridley, Justin Jefferson. I have the list right here. I'm going to go over it tomorrow, so I don't want to spoil the whole entire live stream. But we have, let's see, let me pull it up real quick. In the top 48, you have these names that are busted. Henry, Zeke Elliott. Yeah, no, there's too many to list. There's way too many to list. I had it on my screen here, but I closed it so I'd have more. Okay, Henry, number 3 overall. Zeke Elliott, number 5 overall. Aaron Jones, number 7 overall. Devontae Adams, number 8 overall. Saquon Barkley, number 10 overall. Harris, number 14. Diggs, number 16. Ridley, Clyde, Jefferson, Allen, Josh Allen. The list goes on and on. But inside the top 10, you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 50% of the top 10 busted in Week 1. So before you say things like, can't believe I trusted Callaway, who was a very high-risk, high-reward player. We said that over and over and over. It's a high-risk, high-reward play. Like, people need to understand what that means, because I find a lot of the time when you say that, somebody thinks you're telling them that Callaway's got no risk. He's a high-risk, high-reward play. Okay, so I'm going to start him. And then when he doesn't work out, you say, Smitty, I'm never trusting you again. You said Callaway was a good play. Look, I'm going to be honest with you, okay? And this is, I mean, you should know this anyway. But the best analysts in the world, the best fantasy football analysts in the world are going to miss at least 30% of the time on everything they tell you. Everything. on a good year, if you land 70% of everything that comes out of your mouth, you will be richer than you could ever imagine. Okay, that is a very, very good percentage to land with 50-50 calls. Imagine all the 50-50 calls that came at me, came at you, came at the chat. We all helped each other out, and a lot of you guys answer a lot of the calls. You're going to miss a bare minimum of 30% of everything that is asked of you on the entire year. And a lot of the long-term stuff too. You're going to miss at least 30% of it. So it's kind of like, an annoying part of week one, because you have thick skin. I have thick skin. Things roll right off. I don't really let it bother me. But when you hear things over and over and you have to explain over and over and over, not to freak out about Ridley or Justin Jefferson or that Josh Allen is the player that we thought he was. Like, if after 1 week of football, or in the case of Zeke Elliott, when he faced the number one defense against the run, a defense that did this to every single running back that faced it in 2020. Alvin Kamara against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in week 1 last year, 16 yards. Let me zoom in on this. Alvin Kamara in week 1, 16 yards. Week 2, Christian McCaffrey, 59 yards. Melvin Gordon in week 3, 26 yards. I was even fair. I was super fair with this. I didn't want to paint a weird picture. So Austin Eckler, he didn't have an overwhelming amount of carries in this game, so I took the entire team. 46 yards in week 4. Week 5, 29 yards for Monty. Week 6, Aaron Jones, who had an amazing year last year, 15 yards. In the middle column, Josh Jacobs, 17 yards. Gallman, 44 yards. Alvin Kamara, again, 40 yards. He did average 4.4 a pop, but he got 40 yards. Mike Davis, look at that, 4.6 a pop, but still only 7 carries, 32 yards. Then you've got the entire team, because again, I didn't want to take one running back because there were multiple running backs that had near similar carries. The entire team, 37 yards. Clyde Edwards-Helaire in week 12. I'm not skipping a week. I was very fair when I made this graphic. 37 yards. Here's where the only guy that broke out, Dalvin Cook, 102 yards, 4.6 a pop. Not much different than Kamara's 4.4 yards a carry in week 9 or Davis's week 10, 4.6 yards per carry. But he had 22 carries. Game script allowed Cook to run more. Then you have the entire team in week, what is this, week 15? 37 yards. Swift, 45 yards. Gurley, 18 yards. Only Dalvin Cook survived the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last year. This is a pretty telling graphic. And I spent an hour and a half on it for a reason. Because I felt like you guys needed to see it. People freaking out about Zeke Elliott needed to see it. I needed to get this out there as fast as possible so people didn't have knee-jerk reactions and trade away Zeke Elliott for a ham sandwich. I was getting DM after DM on my Hey Smitty text line, which you can order at heysmitty.com. If you want one-on-one text advice, I was getting DM after DM. Smitty, should I trade Deontay and James Conner for Zeke Elliott? Smitty, should I trade Deontay? And I'm using Deontay because I did get that weirdly a lot. Deontay and Mike Davis for Zeke Elliott. Smitty, should I trade Mike Davis? I got a lot of Mike Davises. Mike Davis and, I don't know, it was like Pittman for Zeke Elliott. Some crazy people reacting, overreacting, knee-jerk reactions to Zeke Elliott. I can't tell you how many people follow up. I get 2 or 3 comments where someone's like, I believe in Zeke. Zeke will be okay. I have a little concern over Zeke. And then there's one comment. Every 5th comment is like, Zeke's washed. Zeke looked like trash. Zeke didn't look like trash. Zeke didn't have anywhere to run. And when somebody says, hey, Zeke Elliott couldn't turn the corner and get in the end zone, they don't really realize that there were defenders standing right there about to swarm him. And he looks slow is more about Zeke trying to figure out where to go, stutter stepping, trying to buy time. How can I find weave into a hole? Zeke is in some of the best shape of his life. And I've seen that with my own eyeballs. I'm not worried about Zeke Elliott's fitness. I'm not worried about Zeke Elliott losing a step. He looks very, very good. We've seen it all offseason long. I feel like situationally, is there concern? I suppose there is concern. And you know what? I was gonna do this video. I almost want to do it now, but we got to get to the start bench stuff. So I think I'm gonna hold off and just keep this a start bench show. But tomorrow's video is gonna be so important and so vital because it's gonna really tell you what you need to do or how you need to look at the slumping players moving forward, because I'm gonna try and give you my version of my risk meter, my risk radar on each of the players that busted. So in the case of Henry, on a scale of 0 being the most concerned and 10 being the most concerned and 0 being the least concerned, my actual fear or my concern level for Henry at his number 3 or 4 overall ADP is ranging right around 6 or 7 out of 10. That's how much my concern, like, he feels like he is going to be a trap. If you hang tight and hang out for the whole entire season, I feel like a little over 50% of me feels like it's going to be a trap and burn you. There's still the other side of that. Maybe he balls out in week 2. Maybe we're overreacting like I'm telling Zeke owners they're overreacting. There's a component there. I'm admitting the component there. So it's going to be tough to hear some of it. It's going to take some inward looking on my part to try and evaluate fairly some of the players I've been talking up over and over. And as an analyst, it's not my job to dig my heels in and say, oh, you know what? I feel super, super strong about this because I felt this way all offseason. I'm going to dig my heels in. It's my job to be fair and honest with myself. And tell you, do I have concern about Clyde? I do a little bit. I don't think he's gonna bust. I don't think he's gonna bust from his 18 to 25 overall ADP. We're protected pretty good into that 18 to 25 overall ADP. He did catch 3 passes for 29 yards. He was used in the passing game. It was an odd game. We can't use excuses over and over and over for Clyde. We can't say he was game scripted out. This will be different. But it's 1 week. We can't overreact to 1 week, or we have to overreact to everybody. We can't overreact for Henry full go. Like, we can have our concerns, try and dissect it, and try and figure out, okay, I kind of feel like there's risk here, but I feel like the risk is at this level. I'm willing to accept it and move on. Or, hey, I feel like 6 out of 10 worried about James Robinson. James Robinson, to me, on a scale of 0 to 10, I have a worry level of probably 6 or 7 or 8 for James Robinson. A lot of components involved as to why. Urban Meyer doesn't know what he's doing at the NFL level. Urban Meyer is going to create a reset year for Trevor Lawrence if things don't change really quickly. I'll be open-minded, just like I'm open-minded about Zeke, not freaking out about Zeke, not freaking out about Callaway, not freaking out about other guys that I feel still have upside to do well. I still have hope for those situations. Therefore, I still have to give some fairness to Urban Meyer and the Jaguars that they can turn it around. But my level of how concerned I am, I'm going to throw that out there. So my level of concern for J-Rob is 6 or 7 out of 10. And I think that Trevor Lawrence, although he did have some decent stats at the end of the day, it looked like this could be a reset year. This could be a reset year. Ayuk, my level of concern for Ayuk, given the drops in the preseason, coupled with this injury, coupled with the usage and the way the Niners handled it. Like, if he's hurt, why is he out there? Why is he out there? Ayuk, my level of concern at his ADP, 6 or 7 out of 10. And so we'll get into that on the episode that will drop tomorrow, I believe before kickoff of the Monday night game. Aaron Jones, my level of concern is about 5 or 6 maybe out of 10. It's not low. It's not the highest. It's not like Henry's, but it's middle range area. And the reason for that is Aaron Jones is very touchdown dependent. Aaron Jones requires the touchdowns. He doesn't get the rushing yards. And if there's struggle in the offense, which is the concern, right? A-Rod did bad. I think A-Rod bounces back. My level of concern for A-Rod, probably in the 2 range. Not high. He's rusty. He didn't have a lot of time to prepare. I think it's rust. He comes in and looks amazing in these situations the next week. But if there is some deficiencies going on, if the offense is not super and ultra efficient, if it can't get in the red zone as frequently as it could in the past, Aaron Jones has susceptibility to fall off a lot if the touchdown volume isn't there. Is A.J. Dillon going to get the touchdown volume? How many carries did A.J. Dillon have? Let's pull up the Green Bay game and see, because I don't off the top of my head, I don't have it. But A.J. Dillon is a concern. At some point, he's going to potentially vulture some of those touchdowns. He averaged 4.8 a carry, only got 4 carries, but 19 yards. And Aaron Jones got 5 carries for 9 yards. And his receptions were 2 for 13. And on top of that, Aaron Jones is historically, like, you have to go back a ways. He's shaken free, this label, I admit. But Aaron Jones is a guy I feel like hasn't quite completely shaken off the injury label. And he's gotten banged up. He's played through a lot of it, but he's been banged up over the last couple of years. He's just gotten on the field and played. And those things don't stay with you. When you look at stats and you reflect back on the last 2 years, you say, how many missed games did player have? You don't say to yourself, how many times did he show up on the injury report and still somehow play? Aaron Jones is injury prone. Aaron Jones has recently shaken free of that and managed to play games. He has missed time, not a lot, but he still feels, in my opinion, capable of being a little more injury prone than the average running back in the NFL. Couple that with needing to have touchdowns or it's game over for him at top 5 running back value. Like, he can't earn and sustain the value he's had over the years without 14, 15, 16 total touchdowns. That's Aaron Jones and where his production lives. You got to worry about it. It's a concern. So that's tomorrow. That show's tomorrow. I know I've given a lot of that information already. It's time to dive into the week 2 waiver wire grabs. So let me put week 2 on screen here. Week 2. Whoops. Week 2. Top waiver wire grabs for week 2. Elijah Mitchell is the top waiver wire grab for week 2 fantasy football. Because the man only dropped 19. What was his stat? It was 19 carries for 1. Let me get the exact stat line. Dude looks phenomenal. I love Elijah Mitchell. And in cases where you drafted Sermon, especially in Dynasty, these two were often needed to be cuffed together because they're the future of the rushing attack. Mostert's not the future. Mostert can't stay healthy. We knew that walking into this game. But I'm going to say Elijah Mitchell, 19 carries for 104 and 1 TD, 5.5 yards per carry. Didn't get any targets, though, which was kind of odd. But this guy walking into week 2 is probably set up to start if Mostert can't get healthy. We need to wait and see what Mostert's injury is, how hurt he is. Eckler's PPR work 0. Yeah, it's a concern. It's a concern. I've just decided chase talent like Mixon. Just put injury narrative on him, even though the situation was horrible. And look how he could be a league winner, says Austin. Look, Mixon, the talent's never been an issue. It's been whether he gets enough volume or has room to run. And the bottom line here is if he stays healthy and the way Joe Burrow looks, I'm willing to accept that Mixon can be a league winner. Like, that's what I was telling you. I'm not going to just dig my heels in. I'm going to tell you what I'm observing at the moment. And at the moment, Mixon, while he is injury prone, I do actually subscribe to that. I think that you're looking at potentially one red flag now. What do I always tell you? When a player has one red flag, I'm not as concerned. When a player has multiple red flags, that's when I start saying they're in a void. That's when a guy like Akers is in a void. That's when you say a guy like Barkley's in a void. There's multiple red flags. Offense, Barkley's coming back from injury. He's not ready. Worry about the ability for him to stay healthy and not compensate and cause other injuries like Achilles. Barkley's very susceptible to a hamstring tear or a big injury, an Achilles injury, and a re-tear of an ACL or the other ACL. He's very susceptible to all those things. Multiple red flags. Yes, Doobie says hit the thumbs up. There are 100 people watching and only 25 thumbs up. Punch the thumbs up. It helps the channel. Helps me do what I do, and I appreciate it, guys. Mixon no longer has the other red flags. So this is a point where I say it changed direction time for Smitty. Good old Smitty saying right now that the only worry I have for Mixon's injury, some of that has to do with not just history of injury, but the fact that he's been hit over and over and over for a long period of time. You know, 8-man front. If people remember Gurley's breakout year, the year prior to that, he actually had a really bad year because the year prior to that, he actually was hitting the line over and over and over, 8-man front after 8-man front, and it hurt him the next season. It made him break down very easily, and he struggled. That's what my concern is for Mixon, but it's my only concern because Joe Burrow looks freaking phenomenal. Jamar Chase, whatever he was struggling with, guess what? He's no longer struggling with it any longer. Joe Burrow looks phenomenal. Jamar Chase looks phenomenal. T. Higgins is not hurt. He was dehydrated, thank God. This offense looks good. And I've gone on live streams before, and people asked me months ago, Smitty, give us a crazy, bold Vegas call. Like a record, win the division. Give me something insane that I can land. Something really hard to predict and something that's not a good odds to happen. And I went into this betting room, this room full of people that were asking for this information. And there was, I don't know, like 20 or 30 people in there. They thought I was insane. They thought I was crazy. And it still sounds bold and crazy. But I said, what are the odds? Like, because I didn't know the actual odd lines of it. I'm busy doing my football stuff. I said, what are the odds in Vegas right now for the Bengals to win the division? And they all started chuckling. They said, Pittsburgh, Ravens, Browns, are you insane? What's this guy? Get this guy out of here. And then a couple of the guys were, no. We trust Smitty. Smitty brings some good stuff. I said, what's the line? Or what are the odds? I think it was like $3,600 or something higher than that for a $20 bet. And again, it's not an easy thing to land. It's not something that right now looks really feasible. Joe Burrow, this Bengal offense looks so good. It wouldn't shock me if they were a 10-11 win team. And again, this division's tough. It's not like they're going to probably pick off every one of them, but wouldn't shock me at all if the Bengals were not third, but maybe even the second best team in the division record-wise come end of season. This is how good the Bengals can be if Joe Burrow's healthy, if Higgins is healthy, which he was dehydrated, not hurt. He got carted off, I believe. We thought he was hurt, but he's not. He's dehydrated. Thank God. Jamar Chase looking phenomenal. Which one do you contain or try to from a defensive perspective? Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. I absolutely love Joe Burrow. My point being, circling back, Mixon only has one red flag now, and I'm willing to admit that. His red flag is worrying about injury, not situation. He should see plenty of room to run now. He won't be facing 8-man front after 8-man front anymore. The only obstacle Mixon has, which still concerns me a significant amount, but it's one red flag, injury. Mixon could be a league winner. That's what I vow to you guys, is I don't dig my heels, and you may think I do because I still like Clyde. I still really do like Clyde. It's not because I'm digging my heels in. I really do think Callaway can be something. And if not, what was the plan? What was the plan that I laid out for everybody in regards to Callaway? Callaway, cuff him to MT. You can draft Callaway ahead of MT. You can cuff MT. Together you have a very, very crafty wide receiver 3. There's value baked in and risk baked into a lot of these things. I don't feel bad at all about Callaway not doing well in week 1. I feel bad for our teams. I feel bad for anybody that sat him. He was high risk and high reward for sat somebody else for him and that player went off. Of course, I feel bad for those situations, but he was a very high risk play. He was facing very, very tough coverage, but he ultimately led to that team balling out because he's such a guy to focus on. And many won't agree. A lot of people say, based on a stat line, he's trash. He's garbage because he didn't do anything. They don't actually say, so when they look at Zeke Elliott, they say Zeke Elliott's trash. He looked bad. He didn't look bad. Zeke Elliott had no room to run. Anybody running against that Tampa Bay defense, when there's 2 or 3 defenders closing in on you and you're stutter stepping, you look slow. If you're looking at the running back, you have to look at the entire situation. That's my point. Elijah Mitchell back on point. I've been talking forever. My throat's dry. I've been live all day. I don't say panic on CEH. I think CEH is about a 2 or a 3 out of 10 for a risk level or concern level for me. I think James Robinson is around a 6 or a 7. I think James Robinson, it is time to panic. It is time to panic bad. Montgomery looks so good, says Master Yoda. I agree with that, my man. He looks fantastic. No, I'm not panicking on CEH. I think he did relatively okay. He didn't have like the worst game of his life. He was game scripted kind of out again, which was a little bit of a concern. Definitely has to be a worry. That's why he's not a 0 out of 10 on the panic scale for me. He's more like a 2 or a 3, and that's because of consistency. Rubio says CEH for Mitchell straight up okay. He's frustrating. No, you cannot trade Clyde Edwards-Helaire after week 1 when he was drafted in the top 18 to 24 overall for Elijah Mitchell. I'm not saying don't get Elijah Mitchell. I'm not saying don't get Mitchell and a baller, 2 guys for 1 Clyde. I'm not saying don't sell high on Clyde. I like selling high on anybody. You can sell high on AB. There's nothing wrong selling high on AB or Kyler or Thielen or anybody if you're selling high for a reason. Selling high doesn't mean you don't believe in the player. Sometimes your roster construction and the team you're looking at is injury riddled. Sometimes you lost J.K. Dobbins, you lost ETN, you have somebody that you don't think is going to bounce back. You try to go cheap running back 2, but you picked the wrong guys. The draft fell horribly for you. You walked into week 1 with problems. It wasn't walking out of week 1. Those are the scenarios where it is wise to look at your best players when they're at their peak. Can I, in a sell high situation only, you're not selling Kyler. You don't sell Kyler unless you're selling Kyler for double filet mignons coming back over on your way that are undervalued, and you know in your heart and your bones that these 2 players you're getting back have explosion type value, just like Kyler just exploded and became more valuable. Example, you're trading Kyler away to get somebody's freak out on Zeke Elliott and a quarterback like A-Rod. Like, there are crazy scenarios out there where it makes sense to, if your team is not built to win, where you have a big dog, to potentially sell high, buy low. Is Chase ceiling higher than Higgins? I think it probably... That's a tough question. It probably is. It probably is, even as a rookie. Higgins is consistent, but that's a tough one. Bro, someone offered me Zeke for AB. Yeah, I mean, you can't do that. You just can't do that. You're right. It's crazy some of the offers people are sending, but no, you don't trade Mitchell, trade Clyde for Mitchell. Time to panic on A-Rod. No, I don't think so, Vlogs. I don't think so. I don't think it's time to panic on A-Rod. You can't, first of all, you're not going to get anything via trade that you should get for guys that are, coming out of week 1 on the low. But A-Rod's masterful in situations like this, and I think he just had a little rust on him. The offense had a little rust. They weren't gelling good. Is there a shot that A-Rod doesn't bounce back ever to form? Sure. I'd say my panic is out of 1 or 2. It's not at a 0, but it's at a 1 or 2. So I definitely don't think it's freak out time at all. My Kyler plus Deontay for Josh Allen and Diggs. That would have looked great. That would have looked like a home run smash walking into week 1. But it's actually not as crazy to contemplate not doing, but I would do it. I would take Josh Allen and Diggs over Kyler and Deontay personally. But I could see somebody saying they'd rather have the Deontay and Kyler side, and I wouldn't call them crazy, but I'm taking Allen and Diggs. I'm trusting that week 1 isn't painting the entire picture of what's going to happen for 2021. Not to mention, you don't get any of the value, none of it, that happened in week 1 in this trade. In your mind, you're kind of thinking, oh, but I'm getting this guy, Kyler Murray, who just scored, 5 TDs. You're not getting any of that. You're starting from scratch right now. If you're acquiring Kyler, if you're on that side of it. And if you're on the other side of it, you don't have to worry about that Josh Allen dropped a dud game or Diggs dropped a dud game. So if you're on the side of acquiring Josh Allen and Diggs, you don't have to consider, I'm getting that bust value from week 1. You're getting a clean slate. So clean slate, Josh Allen and Diggs, in my opinion, outscored Deontay and Kyler. But it's not that crazy. It's not that crazy. It's amazing how much value Kyler is going to have, and he should. He should have. You should only sell Kyler for this kind of top dollar value. That's it. Plain and simple. Kyler commands it. Kyler commands it. Smitty, would you sell high on Chase if you're able to get like a Gibby or Najee? Absolutely. If you could sell Jamar Chase coming off of a week that when he entered the week, people didn't even want to own him. They wanted to put him on the bench at the very, very most. And now you're telling me you can go get a Gibby or a Clyde. You're going to have to give up more. There's no way you're able to get Gibby or Harris, or Clyde. But Harris is a good buy low right now. People are freaking out. My panic meter from a 0 to 10, 10 being panic, 0 being not panicked at all, on Harris is going to be in the 2-3 range at the most, maybe 1 to 2. Callaway back to all your benches? No. Depends on the situation. And again, if we're going to say Callaway's a bust based on week 1, we got to say it about everybody else. We cannot draw a concrete conclusion based on the man being locked down for an entire game by one of the best corners, which was a high risk, high reward play. It was very high risk. It was very high reward. And I think he gets fed in week 2, but is it still high risk until he proves consistent? Yeah, it's still going to be a high risk play, but I still believe in Callaway and I think he's talented. I agree with Smitty. Henry was a huge fade for me last year. It was he came out of an ideal situation, and this is a new offense in a way. Coaching, the entire dynamic of it is different. You've got Julio coming in and adding. It's kind of like when you add a bunch of big names to a super team in basketball, and you get this amazing top 5 starting lineup, and it doesn't gel. And you're like, how the heck is this team not blowing teams out of the water? How does a team with Giannis on it do better than this super team? And it's because just adding Julio doesn't 100% fit. It doesn't mean it's going to gel. And it could affect A.J. Brown. And in fact, I probably would sell high on A.J. Brown if you can, because I still worry about how this whole team's going to function and what happens with the target share in a new environment, in a less efficient offense. It's different. You can't just say Jonu's gone, Corey Davis is gone, here's 100 and whatever amount of targets, whatever that total was, 100 and something targets, and I know that AJ Brown's going to have some. Here you go, AJ, and here's the other share going over to Julio. It doesn't work like that. Not when you have a different coaching system. You add Julio and you take away players. You don't know what you have. You can't translate one volume situation to another. And so bottom line is we don't know what we're looking at in 2021 with this Titans offense. And the Cardinals just exposed it. The Cardinals defense, my Cardinals look fantastic on defense. This is one of the top five, this could be a top 5 defense in 2021. This Cardinal defense, I'm just blown away by the way the Cards played in week 1. They look phenomenal. They look hard. They look hardcore. This team is legit. My worry meter on Ayuk, I think I said a 5 or a 6 or a 7. I don't even remember what number I gave, but it's pretty high. Drops in the preseason. Usage is weird. Played hurt. Is he hurt? Will he get healthy? Why is he playing hurt? I'm staying away from that situation. Gaskin and Chase for Gibby. Smitty, you just got an offer. Give me Gibby. I'd rather have Gibby. I'm not freaking out after week 1. I would have said Gibby by a mile heading into week 1. I'm not going to change, based on that. Based on 1 week. Smitty, you should create a video with the list of all your sell highs and buy lows. Of course that's coming, Scott. What do I look like, pal? Of course you're going to get that. That video is coming tomorrow night. We're right when the probably before the Monday night game, you're going to see the sell high video. Sell high video. Smitty, should I create a video or should you create? Oh, hold on to Hardman and Sermon. Scott, I mean, you got to, not Hardman. I don't care about Hardman, but I would hold on to Sermon. I wouldn't cut Sermon yet. But Mitchell has more upside at this point. We just got to wait and see. Sermon was a 3rd round pick. They're not going to discard him, but there's a reason he didn't play. He was a healthy scratch because from what I'm hearing, he's in the doghouse. So Sermon's a risky hold in like a small league, but in a larger league, I mean, you got to hold him. You got to hold him. But I think Mitchell, like if it was a scenario where you had to drop Sermon, you had no other drop to pick up Mitchell, I probably would take Mitchell because right now he's a 100-yard rusher in the NFL. Yeah, Ayuk you can't drop. You can't drop Ayuk. That would be a horrible move. Yeah, we do have to see how it plays out. We can't be making knee-jerk reactions, guys, with guys we drafted really, really high. We have to wait and see. You cannot have these knee-jerk reactions or you're going to be in trouble. So Elijah Mitchell, the number 1 pickup of week 1. I think he's got, he's a starting running back right now. Currently, Mostert's hurt. I don't think Mostert will be healthy for week 2, but we have to wait and see on that too. We could have news that he's going to play. Things can unfold very quickly, very differently than we expect, coming out of a speculative type news cycle that's coming out of week 1. Like we're hearing a lot of speculation. We don't know what's going on. Mostert could be out a long time, or a short time, or no time. But for right now, my educated guess is that Elijah Mitchell is probably starting week 2, and he delivered. And Shanahan likes to ride the hot hand, and he's the hot hand, and he just delivered. He just executed. Shanny trusts him. And if there's any question around the running back situation, Mostert healthy, guess what? You can't hear the music? There you go. So, Elijah Mitchell, number 1 waiver wire guy. How much do I bid on Smitty? I don't know. I don't know your league, and this is probably the most asked question I get. How much fab do I throw on Elijah Mitchell? I don't know, because you know the historical trends in your league, and you got to think to yourself, okay, what is the most people usually bid? Because I don't have that information. I could tell you drop all $100 of 100 on him, and in some scenarios I would do that. Some scenarios I would do that. It depends on the historical ways of my league. In other scenarios, in a $100 league, the most anybody ever spends is $20, so I drop 30. I'm safe in case somebody goes, I'm going to drop 21. So it all depends. But if there is a potential James Robinson from last year, who we're not calling James Robinson this year. As of right now, we're freaking out about J-Rob, right? But the James Robinson of last year, if there's a running back right now coming out of week 1, it's Elijah Mitchell. He has it written all over him. Whether he works out or not, it's a whole nother thing. Jameis Winston's available in an uncomfortable amount of leagues, and he needs to be grabbed. He has QB1 potential, And honestly, you have Kyler and Winston. Let's say you pick up Winston or you own him, and your team is not built to win. You have to make a move. You have to look yourself in the mirror and ask the honest question: with Kyler or AB or Godwin or Lamb or Cooper or Dak or whoever, insert player that blew up in week 1, if you own said player, you needing to trade Kyler away doesn't mean you don't love Kyler or believe in Kyler. Like, people need to understand, selling high and buying low has no, you should treat it like a business. And if you can trade Kyler for a running back that you shouldn't even sniff, using the 3rd or 4th round value or 4th or 5th round value you spent on Kyler, and you have a Burrow sitting on your bench, or you have Jameis Winston and you need something, you got to look at what trade options these guys can get you. Plain and simple. Jameis Winston needs to be grabbed. Jacoby Myers, even though he didn't go nuts this week, what was his stat line? Jacoby had where's Jacoby's game? Somebody has it off the top of their head. Oh, here it is. I got it. I'm going to find it before I see it in the chat. Jacoby Myers had... Mac Jones, first of all, was 29 for 39, 281 and 1 TD. He looked pretty good. At times he looked good. James White, 6 for 49, by the way. 4 for 12. And I have James White listed here. James White needs to be grabbed potentially in a lot of leagues. I'm using this for light. That's why I keep resetting it. Jacoby Myers, 6 for 44. Not very explosive, like on the stat sheet. Not something that pops off, right? Avi says Tyreek, first round pick every year, best in the game. Attaboy, Avi. Jacoby Myers is available. The reason I put him on this list, he didn't explode, but he's available according to JP. Thank you, JP, for the stats. And 40%-ish in Yahoo leagues, I believe. So he's available in 40% of some leagues and 50% in other leagues I've looked at. It's crazy. I was shocked when we were talking about it. So Jacoby Myers needs to be grabbed. He could be a wide receiver 3 in fantasy the whole year. And I think that this game right here is a down game for Jacoby. I think he could be a 70 and a touchdown type of guy on the semi-regular. Thank you, Avi. Mr. TD says, did I waste my number 2 waiver wire pickup on Lat Murray instead of waiting for someone like Mitchell? Yeah, probably, but we'll see. Mitchell could still rise up, but he's not even... I mean, we'll see tomorrow night, but I don't feel like Mitchell or that Lat Murray's in a position to get anything close to starter carries yet. So, he's got Bell there. You got Tyson Williams still ready to shine. He's the only one that knows what's really going on in that offense and has the playbook down in the plays. So, I mean, Tyson Williams has to fail for Murray to get his shot. Elijah Mitchell is ready to rumble. But don't let that discourage you. Figure out a way, to get him as well. I wasn't huge on the Lat Murray pickup. So, order the text line, pal. HeySmitty.com, so you and I can have these conversations ahead of time. Waddle looks pretty good. J-Rob and AB for Gibby. I would do that. I would take Gibby over J-Rob and AB, but that's me. And of course, it depends a little bit on your situation. Trey Sermon will win out. We'll see about that. Right now, Elijah Mitchell's the man. I'm not opposed to holding both of them. I think that they could rotate. TD, Elijah probably would have went first. Did I miss any super chats here? I got Avi's. I'm sorry. No, Rubio, I got to you. I got Rubio's. Okay, I didn't miss it. Good. I thought I missed Rubio's. Rubio, you still here? You got a follow-up, Rubio? Is Moss droppable? Zach Moss? Probably. I mean, I still like him a little bit, but he can't stay healthy. Mike Williams looked great. He dropped a pass. He didn't look great the whole game, but all right, good. Rubio, if you have a follow-up, let me know. I appreciate your super chat, pal. How much fab for Elijah Mitchell? Again, like I said earlier, this is not a question I can answer because I would just be blowing smoke up your rear. Why? Not because I'm not good at predicting things. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that if I told you a number, I would be telling you based on my leagues or based on what I see. And you have to know what your league is willing to do. If you have league mates, like in some of my leagues where every player is $100 out of 100, everyone rotates blowing their fab on a guy because everyone knows everyone else is going to do it. The peer pressure involved or the necessity to drop 100 to even have a chance at a guy is overpowering this league to where it basically you have $100. It's who's dropping 100 and then what the tiebreaker is. And in other leagues, you got a bunch of conservative guys that don't ever put more than $20 out of 100 or even like more than 12 out of 100. And then you go dropping $100 and you look like a fool. I dropped Jamal Williams for Mitchell. That's a tough one. You can't find another drop because Jamal's still getting a lot of volume. Try and make a trade maybe, or I mean, in the end, I like Mitchell a little better, but Mitchell's a little riskier to have the job long term because Sermon's still there. 151 watching. Says Doobie, only 51 thumbs up. Please punch a thumbs up for me, broskies. I appreciate that. Real quickly, I want to play this for you. This is a cool, amazing promo company I'm working with. And just watch this real quick. It's short. I've got a new way for you to experience daily fantasy sports and esports. It's called Thrive Fantasy, baby. And you can find it at smitty1.com/thrive. Based off player props, the way you love to play fantasy, you set your lineup of player props. Choose your lineup of over-unders on the app. Each prop has a fantasy total that gets added up. So you're setting like a lineup based on the player prop. Yeah, buddy.
Wait a minute, Smitty. You're telling me you can play fantasy football using player props?
That's right, Bob. You can actually build a lineup using player props and get the provided fantasy points that are allocated for that player prop to land. Rack up the most points, Bob, and you win a certain percentage of that prize pool, baby. Prop up with Thrive Fantasy today. smitty1.com/thrive. Go check them out. Go to smitty1.com and click on, or actually go to smitty1.com/thrive, and I'll put that in the chat here. But give these guys a look. It's a really fun way to play fantasy because you can literally draft like a fantasy lineup using the player props, which is kind of unique and cool. So definitely give that a look. We haven't got to Gainwell yet. So go to smitty1.com/thrive. And if you do that and you send me a screenshot on Instagram or email or whatever, I'll give you a free phone call to break down your roster, come up with trade advice. I'll give you a free phone call. All you got to do is go to smitty1.com/thrive. Let me drop that in the chat and pin it so you guys can jump in there and get a hold of that so that we can get on a phone call. So hold on one second. Let me drop that in the chat. Get shareable link. Get into my live stream because I didn't have it pulled up. Knock on wood, but the internet connection's been a lot better since I switched over to the new provider. So go to this link right here, smitty1.com/thrive. I'm going to pin it, and anybody that does a deposit of $10 minimum using promo code HeySmitty. Let me edit this. Let me send it again. So go to, actually that link should give you the promo code actually. So go do that and play Thrive Fantasy. What kind of internet? I'm using a local company that is a lot better. So I was using Cox Communications, and it was down all the time. let's see here. Smitty, concern on Javonte Williams with Gordon's solid game. A little bit, pal. A little bit, Landon. It sucks that Gordon had to have that carry because he looked good on it, but I think Javonte would have done everything Gordon did better. So if that carry just would have went to Javonte and he ripped that off, he would have been a little quicker, a little faster looking. Gordon did okay with it. Gordon obviously he almost got caught, but he was able to get in the end zone because he's crafty and he used his spatial manipulation of that run very well. Gordon's a veteran. It was pretty good. It was a good run and it was pretty impressive. So it sucks that was not freaking Williams getting that carry because it would have been game over. It would have been Williams' job moving forward. Melvin Gordon bought himself some time. Javonte still got a boatload of carries. In fact, didn't Javonte out-carry him? If we go to the game log here, go to Denver. What was the carry divide between these two guys? The carry divide was Melvin Gordon 11, Javonte Williams 14. Melvin Gordon's ripped off that long run, which gave him the 9.2 yards per carry, which he didn't have before that run. 11 carries for a 101 and a touchdown. So, it sucks. It sucks that Melvin Gordon got that. Javonte Williams also only had one catch, minus 4 yards, and Melvin Gordon had 3 catches for 17. Could put a little bit of a delay on the breakout party, maybe not. Javonte Williams has a lot of upside. Sell Debo high. Who do you think attainable 1-on-1 in a 1-for-1 in PPR? That's a tough call, bro. I'd probably say so on the buy list. We've got Mike Evans. I'd trade Debo for Mike Evans. I'd try and give up more and get Justin Jefferson. Of course, you're not getting Justin Jefferson straight up for Debo, but you might be able to trade a running back that's doing really well. I traded Damian Harris. I know Damian Harris is looking good, and I'm not saying to sell him low, but I try using Damian Harris to get a Justin Jefferson right now, a Ridley, a Diggs. I tried getting into a big gun that struggled in week 1 and used these guys that were popping off, looking good. There's no way AB and Harris and Brandon Cooks and Gronk and even Lockett, there's no way these guys hold the same value they have today all year long. And people are so upset about not having Lockett and saying, I kind of liked him, the recency bias of things and the fact that people have that suggestive mentality like, I think I liked Lockett. I almost drafted Lockett. We all almost drafted Lockett. At some point in our draft, we almost drafted Lockett. There's a lot of people out there, the suggestive people, that they see something and they feel like they remember it a different way. Like, I almost drafted Lockett. They're so upset over it. They'll trade anything to make up for this wrong. and I'd say let's see. I'm looking at the board that I wrote up all the sell highs. Let me put this on screen here. This is the list. We'll go to this list in 1 second. I just want to say Gainwell, just to wrap this up. Gainwell is a great grab. Miles Sanders looked pretty efficient and okay, but Gainwell could certainly be in the mix for starting carries at some point this year. Miles Sanders is very injury prone. Miles Sanders has the frame that I think isn't built to be a full-time running back. So Gainwell is one of my crafty, probably the most crafty out of all the 4 top pickups for week 2. I think Gainwell is that crafty running back that you're planning ahead. You're not necessarily going to use Gainwell in week 2, but you're trying to think ahead. And I think this is a guy that can win you a league. So in the case of I forget who asked me and said, hey, Smitty, did I waste my waiver wire pickup on Lat Murray when I should have been grabbing Mitchell? You could maybe make up for it by grabbing this guy and holding him and then waiting. Heineke, Darnold, Jimmy G for quarterbacks. Those are the top quarterback ads. If I'm missing anybody, toss it out. If you feel like, oh, hey, in my league, I'm seeing this, let me know. Heineke, Darnold, Jimmy G, all the top QBs to grab right now. If Winston isn't available, who's obviously listed higher up here. So these are the remaining guys. James White, Roundtree, in case Eckler, further injures himself, but Eckler looked healthy enough. Singletary, because Moss can't stay healthy. Ingram in Houston looks like he could be potentially getting volume. Marshall, the rookie wide receiver, is a must-grab. Christian Kirk had 2 TDs, looked really good, but Rondell Moore almost did just as much damage through the air minus the touchdowns. Rondell Moore is a very good wide receiver, and I think Kirk is a monster sell high. Like, I don't even consider Kirk an option for me to be in my lineup at any point. I think the moment you start him, he doesn't do what he did in this contest. So Monty looked incredible. Yes, he did. Bridges, I appreciate you. Let's see, Van Jefferson, Shepard, the tight ends. There weren't a lot of tight ends to grab, assuming Gronk isn't. Actually, Gronk is available in more leagues than he should be, so I'm going to put him on here. He's not available in a lot of leagues, but he is in some of the smaller ones. So I'm just going to put him on here, even though that might not apply to everybody. So Gronk. Everett looked really good. Everett looked very, I think, healthy and strong and efficient. So I like Everett a lot in that offense. I think Wilson's going to feed him a ton. Johnson for the Saints. You need to grab this guy if you're in dire need at tight end. He's a good grab to just, grab and stash if you need somebody. So those are the top waiver wire ads for week 2. And I'm sorry it took so long to roll all that out. We were ranting and raving for a bunch of time. Here's the list that we came up with on my YouTube exclusive membership. If you go to my homepage on YouTube, you can join my YouTube exclusive group where we actually go live. Let me take a screenshot of it and show you. We go live on Discord video 2 times on Sundays. 2 video calls that we do every single Sunday. And if you jump on, let me show you what I'm talking about. It's right here. Let me screenshot this. I didn't grab it. Let me screenshot this and I'll put it on screen here for you. Come on. Oh, maybe it'll paste. Come on, buddy. Let's try once more. Right here. There we go. Okay, so if you go to my youtube.com/the fantasy football show, you'll see this homepage. This is my homepage to my YouTube channel. When you get to my homepage of my YouTube channel, you will notice there is a join button. This blue join button, if you click it, you can join my YouTube exclusive group, and we go live on a video. Think of it like a Zoom call 2 times every Sunday. So it's a big video call. And you jump in, you can turn your mic off, you can turn your camera off, you don't have to speak, you can just chat if you want, or you can be a part of the video call experience. But we literally just click that join button on my YouTube channel, and you can cancel anytime. We did this. We sat up here. Let me change the mic. Can you guys hear me okay? Is that too loud? Let me lower the volume on that. It's a little loud. Test. Okay. So we just came over on this marker board and we started writing and doing all the ad drops, and we did the ad list over here. We did the buy list here, and we started constructing this. We go live at halftime of the morning games, and we go live at halftime of the Thursday night game. And when we go live, we talk about who do we sell, who do we buy. And when we go live at the halftime of the morning games, we don't have a ton of information yet, but we have a little insight as to what might be unfolding for the week. So when we started out, we had half of these names on here because we're first half, we know what's going on. Then as the second half unfolded, we all watched, separately. The afternoon games, we came back on Sunday night, halftime of the Sunday night game, added to the list. We eliminated a couple people that didn't do well in the first half that we thought were going to be good buy lows, but then DK caught a touchdown pass. DK no longer was a buy low. Of the buy low list, Josh Allen and Diggs, in my opinion, are the two safest. Harris or Jefferson next. Jefferson, Diggs, and Allen are probably my three safest buy lows. I feel like you're buying low at those values that you could buy low at. Very, very little risk, if not zero risk in my mind. I think Zeke Elliott has a risk of the 2, 3, maybe 4, but probably 2 or 3 out of 10 in terms of risk for me. I really think this is a great buy low. I think Harris is also a 2 or a 3 on the risk scale. I'm fine buying him low. Ayuk, no longer. That was a name that we threw up early in the morning because we didn't know what was going on. Already, I'm crossing him off the list. Aaron Jones could potentially be a buy low, but I'm worried about him. D. Adams is also like a zero risk. I forgot he was right there. Adams, I don't want to scratch him off. I'm going to do a dotted line because I'm more worried now than I was in the morning game little video conference call we did. Pitts is a good buy low, but I won't circle him. Gaskin's a pretty good buy low. Clyde is a 2, 3, 4, I suppose, risk. Gibby is maybe a 3 or a 2, maybe a risk of 3 out of 10. Ridley, pretty darn safe. I'd say like a risk of 1, only because you worry about, okay, there's the foot issue. Why was he non-existent in the game? But still a 1. So a risk of 1 out of 10. Risk of 0 out of 10. So this is a 1. 1 out of 10. 0 out of 10. 0 out of 10. 0 out of 10. I don't know, 0 out of 10. Like Adams, Allen, Diggs, Jefferson, 0. Ridley, 1. Harris, maybe a 2 out of 10 to 3. Zeke, 2 to 3 out of 10. Sell list. Everybody with a check means that I believe in them. I don't want you to sell low. I don't want you to sell medium. I don't want you to sell moderately high. I'm telling you, only sell them if you're getting top dollar and your team needs it. Again, Kyler Murray. I even put 2 check marks next to Kyler Murray because I don't want anybody in the back to misconstrue what I'm saying. Let's put a 3rd check mark. Kyler Murray is not to be sold unless you're getting top dollar. You're going and trading him in for 2 filet mignons for your 1 filet mignon. Yes, hard to do, but there are players like Ridley, Jefferson, Allen, Diggs, Harris, Zeke, Adams that are cheaper than they should be. Therefore, a Kyler selling high moment is definitely in the cards for me. Godwin, I sell high pretty easily. I think he could be hit and miss. Gronk, I sell high pretty easily. Lockett feels like he'll be up and down. AB solid, but I feel like you can get such a high value for him right now. It makes a lot of sense to sell high. Debo, I love selling high. Chubb, he looks good. Hunt's still very involved. The volume seems to be there for both, but it still feels like a little bit of a situation that if I can get top dollar for and buy into a Debo and let's see, Winston Chubb and Winston, and you could get a Diggs and an Allen. I go get Diggs and Allen using my Winston and Nick Chubb, something like that. If my running backs could support it, sell high on Damian Harris. I like him. I think he can continue to do well. For every start he gets, he will produce. But the fact that you could sell him for maybe a Jefferson right now, straight up, the fact that you could sell a Damian Harris for a Ridley straight up, or a Diggs straight up, or a potential Adams, and even if you gave up a little bit, there are people that are willing to pay for this right now. They missed out on it. They feel like, I could have had this guy. He looks so good. They're going to feed him. There are people that will 100%, in some league that you play in, contemplate a Harris for a Jefferson, a Harris for a Ridley, a Harris for a Harris, Harris for a Diggs, Harris for... You're going to have to give up more for Adams, but this is what we do On the YouTube exclusive, go to youtube.com/The Fantasy Football Show. You're watching right now on that channel. Click the blue join button and join up and be a part of the video calls. Okay. Back to reality here. Where are we at? How many, hey Doobie, how many people we got in here? And how many thumbs up we got? My stats stopped loading. Let me see. We have 137 still in here, I think. 73 thumbs up. Appreciate the thumbs up, everybody. That's going to do it for today's show. I appreciate all the super chats. Let me see if I missed any. I did. So let me get to those before I leave. I'm sorry. I was over on the marker board and I didn't see your super chat come flying in. Avi, I appreciate you again. Thank you for the super chat. Who else super chatted today? I'm going to get to your question here, Keats. 1 second. Rubio, appreciate you, Rubio. Thank you guys for dropping those super chats. I appreciate you very, very much. You help the show do what the show does. I like the setup, Smitty. That's all he's... I put him on hold to read that. I'm sorry, Keats. I should have seen that right away. 76. Thank you, Doobie. Doobie's the bouncer here, and Doobie and Terry Roberts, they are the two bouncers in the room. They're trying to get everybody to hit the thumbs up. Terry Roberts, are you here? Thanks for the stream, Smitty. Thank you, Bach. Appreciate you. Hey, Smitty, what do you do with Gesicki? Should I pick up Hooper or Higbee? I like Higbee the most out of those. What else would I miss? I drafted Kyler. Attaboy. Congratulations. Diggs over Chase. Absolutely. Hey, Smitty. Talk about Ridley or Gesicki. I like Ridley a lot. He's a buy low. I talked about him over there on the marker board. I really think Ridley's a 1 out of 10 risk at this point. Like, I'm only worried about the foot maybe and why he vanished, and the offense maybe be less efficient or something. Is it changed? Is it going to recover? Is Pitts going to be there to help create less defensive attention? 0 to 1 out of 10 risk for Ridley. I'm buying Ridley pretty much everywhere I can. How do you feel about Ridley? I got that question. Okay, I think I'm caught up. Tunyon droppable? No. Tunyon can still have a really good year. Depends on who you can pick up though, pal. Smitty, sell Jamar Chase. It depends what you can get. You can go after a Justin Jefferson. Apparently, a few people have come to me with that offer. Like, they're giving up a little bit more, and they're getting Justin Jefferson using Jamar Chase and whatever. Definitely, Devontae Smith and Jamar Chase both could be top 7 wide receivers of the future. You talk 49ers backfield yet? Yes, we did rewatch the show. That's what the entire beginning was about, so go rewatch it. I can't really repeat all that, but go check it out. Sell McLaurin. Honestly, you're buying McLaurin. McLaurin didn't have a big day. He had a good catch, and he had some decent stats, but you're not selling McLaurin high. No one's buying him high. You could buy him low. Last question. What is Corey Davis's value? That's a great sell high. And I probably should. I don't know if I had him over there, but he is definitely, I think I do have him on the corner. He is definitely a sell high. Debo and Corey Davis are good sell highs. Not saying they can't keep delivering, but they're at optimal value right now. Sell high on both of them. All right, guys. I appreciate everybody being in here. You guys make the show go round. I can't thank you enough for everything you do for me. I'm sorry we missed on some things this week, but we all did it. We all did it together. Literally 40% of everyone inside the top 48 overall, and 50% exactly of the top 10 busted on all of us. So let's hold hands, sing Kumbaya, and attack week 2. We've got a lot of content coming for the remainder of the week. Tomorrow's video is going to be insanely helpful. I break down all of the bust top 48 guys inside the top 48 that busted. So about 17 names inside the top 48 ADP from September ADP and August ADP. I break down 17 of the biggest busts coming out of week 1 and tell you my risk assessment of each one walking into the rest of the season. Should you buy? Should you sell? Should you hold? Should you cry? It's all coming up tomorrow. I will see you all